Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome back to another Walking Dead video. So we have some pretty big breaking news here when it comes to The Walking Dead, The Ones Who Live. We basically have confirmation at this point that the show is going to be more than one season. Like, it's not official confirmation. There is not like a official announcement that just happened where it's like, yeah, we're getting a season 2, but Scott Gimple was asked a question. Is The Ones Who Live a limited series, or will we get more than one season? And yeah, let's break down his comments here, because I mean, it's basically confirmation of a season 2. There's also some talks of something bigger happening in the future in terms of like crossovers and stuff like that. So I want to get into that and break down everything that happened today. Today was a much bigger day than I expected. So yeah, as always, make sure to be a subscriber if you do want to get all my Walking Dead content like this. And also, I'm going to be streaming tomorrow on Twitch. There's going to be a season 2 for Warzone is actually out, and the Rick Grimes operator bundle should be available. I'm expecting Michonne's to be available as well, but I know that with Rick, I think he's going to be available as soon as you get the battle pass. But I think with Michonne, she's not going to be in that. I think you have to get her in like an operator bundle kind of thing. And I know sometimes that's not available right away. Sometimes it takes a couple of days or a week or two, or it's going to happen during the season. I hope it's right away, but I believe tomorrow we're going to be able to at least play as Rick Grimes. So I will be playing as Rick Grimes in Warzone. So if you want to come chat The Ones Who Live as we await this premiere tomorrow for The Ones Who Live, it's gonna be a big red carpet premiere tomorrow. Then go follow me on Twitch, just that Appetite for the Dead. But yeah, let's get into exactly what was said here from Scott Gimple. So again, everyone's talking about this right now, and there's this huge event that's been happening right now that, yeah, everybody's been following. And Scott Gimple was asked whether or not The Ones Who Live was going to be a continuing series or if it was going to be more of a limited series. And he said anything is possible. And so the second he said that, I was just like, okay, so this was supposed to be a limited series. Like, when The Walking Dead World Beyond was out, they announced it immediately that it was a limited series. It was a 2-episode limited series event or whatever, and they promoted it like that. It was everywhere. And if you notice, when they first promoted the show, they sort of said that, and then it was kind of quiet for a bit. And then as time went on, just more and more, it just kind of got to the point where it was like, okay, no one's talking about it being a limited series anymore. And it just got to the point where you're just seeing new series everywhere. And it's just like, okay, it seems like we're going to get a season 2. And again, I've talked about this from the beginning because of just the general story of this. Like, the story is so massive with the CRM that it's almost impossible for them to wrap everything up in just one season. And so I've always just focused on that. I was like, there's no way it's going to be this. And I just had the feeling that they were probably going to be doing more than one season, but obviously we didn't have the confirmation. But at this point, it really seems like we are actually getting that confirmation. Like, it seems like at this point, it is actually happening. And so again, Gimple confirms that anything is possible when it comes to The Ones Who Live getting more than one season. So he's saying this, again, it's not just him saying this by himself. He is saying this in front of Andrew Lincoln, Denai Guerrera, and the rest of the cast. There's a bunch of cast members that were there today. So he's saying it in front of everybody. Like, if he's saying that, then he's not just saying it just for whatever, because they're all going to be like, well, no, I'm not doing that. And so I'm interested in, you know, what everyone else's reactions were to when Gimple said that. Like, if Andrew Lincoln was just kind of smiling, nodding his head as he said that, I'm just like, okay, so he already knows more, right? So I think at this point, we can officially kind of, you know, stop asking that question. It seems like there's going to be a season 2. Now, I think what they're going to do, though, is not announce anything right now. They're going to announce a season 2, I'm assuming, after The Ones Who Live is over. And so, you know, if you look at The Walking Dead Dead City, it kind of seemed like for like a second, like for a day or two, or there was a couple days there where it seemed like, oh, maybe this is only a 1-season thing. Because I know a lot of people were saying that, like, oh, Dead City, you know, there's no confirmation that they're going to be doing a season 2 or anything like that. Like, this might be a 6-episode story with Maggie and Negan, and that's basically it. But then a couple of days after the premiere, or it might have been just before the premiere or whatever, they announced, yes, there's going to be a season 2, right? I think they did it at Comic-Con, or maybe it was after Comic-Con, because I know last year's Comic-Con was a little different. But yeah, so it seems like for sure we're going to be getting a season 2, which again, like, I'm not that surprised by. Like, I've been kind of talking about this for a while because it really seemed like it was very, very, very likely. And so at this point, this is just going to be a lot of fun to watch, to just kind of see where things are going overall. And I do think, you know, now looking back to that Walking Dead, Daryl Dixon episode 5 thing with Carol, when she said somebody came back or whatever, I don't think she was talking about Rick or Michonne. Like, at this point, I just don't think so. Like, even back then, it kind of seemed a little too insane. Based off of Scott Gimple's comments here about doing crossovers and like laying breadcrumbs, I do think that was just a teaser for a possible, I guess, crossover for like Dead City. And I do think it was most likely Dwight and or Morgan. I guess Morgan could be in The Ones Who Live season 2, right? I think that was most likely possible. And I think again, just because of what Gimple said here, and we'll talk about that in terms of his crossover stuff, I think it is very, very possible that just combined with everything that he said here, that it seems like they are going to be building to some big like Walking Dead crossover event. And yeah, I'm very, very excited about that. You know, besides this here, there was a lot of talk about just what the story is going to be about. And it seems like this first season is going to focus a lot on Rick and Michonne and just them specifically and just their relationship and all that, which I guess makes a lot of sense because, you know, those characters were apart for so long. And so I think it makes sense to do that. I think, you know, for a season 2, they're going to just focus on some other stuff, you know, regarding like the CRM or just some other plot that is happening. Right. So, yeah, definitely. I'm very, very excited for just what season 1 is going to be bringing us, because at this point here, I'm pretty confident that there is going to be a season 2. Now, we also do have some confirmation here. I saw that the Television Critics Association actually retweeted this from Megan O'Keefe, and Gimple actually says here, it says, Gimple admits he does have dreams of a massive The Walking Dead crossover event. He's always laying breadcrumbs, building those pathways, but there could always be pivots. This show is an example because Lincoln and Gimple worked on other stories before this. So right there, that confirmation right there basically confirms that, yeah, he is working towards doing a massive like crossover event where you have all of our characters sort of together and you're going to end this Walking Dead universe in probably the ways that we're expecting, where it's like CRM versus Commonwealth, or like CRM versus maybe Madame Genet and her group. And, you know, a lot of that, it looks like a lot of the connections that we are making in terms of, you know, Madame Genet and her scientists being in America, taking walkers, and there's some cure stuff here. They're trying to like create these variant walkers. Like, there are connections here. There seems to be a lot of stuff that Gimple is actually building towards. It's just whether or not we're going to get there in the exact same way, right? Like, I do think because it is television and because of just, you know, how things are going, he's just sort of taking it step by step. Just focus on this, do this, build everything like this, and then if we can get to this point, we're going to do this kind of thing, right? Because he said that him and Andrew Lincoln have been working on this story for quite a while, and look how many other stories they did before they got to this point, right? Because again, there was supposed to be a movie trilogy. There was supposed to be a lot of stuff like that, and a lot of things changed right away. So I think as of now, there's a plan that he probably has in place, and he's just going to keep doing that. And you know, if AMC allows him to do this, they're going to keep going. But it's just, you know, they'll just have to wait and see what it ends up looking like at the end of the day, because I'm sure things are going to change all the time. But this to me is practically confirmation that, yeah, we are going to be getting a season 2, and it seems like there is going to be sort of this big crossover event. And I'm actually really, really interested in that, because now that they sort of worded it in the way that they did word it, I'm just thinking about it, because like obviously for like what happens to like, you know, a character like Morgan and or Dwight, right? Like, when you're focusing on those characters, like Scott Gimple wants to end those characters' stories in a certain way. Like, there's no way he's just going to end the story and not have any say in where it goes, right? Like, he's not letting the showrunners for Fear the Walking Dead decide what happens to Morgan and Dwight. There's no way, right? So he's going to say, I want these characters to be here and there kind of thing. And yeah, obviously that's what he's going to be really focusing on. And I think what happened with that is Dwight, again, could be in Dead City. Morgan, I do think like ending his story where he's like, Rick, I'm going to come find you, this and that, I think was very intentional. And again, I've been saying this for a while. I don't know if this is actually going to happen. Maybe I'm wrong, and in the first couple of episodes of The Ones Who Live, Michonne finds the green bottle. But in the very last episode of The Walking Dead, Rick threw that green bottle in the water. And it just seems like, based off of the trailer and everything, that Michonne isn't going to find that bottle. Like, I just don't see her finding the bottle and then somehow finding Rick. I think it's going to be a totally different way, you know, in which she finds out more stuff about Rick. She's probably going to see the CRM helicopter, just know more about them and learn about all of that, and then somehow find Rick. I don't think that green bottle is really going to come into play until like a season 2. So I could see season 1 ending with Morgan actually finding the bottle, and that's the cliffhanger for a season 2, is that Morgan is back. He found proof that Rick is here. Rick needs help, and so he's going to go and help Rick, right? Because Morgan is not necessarily going to go back to Alexandria. Yes, that's kind of like a home to him, but like not entirely. I feel like his home is like wherever Rick is. And again, that could just be me, but it just kind of feels like his home is just wherever Rick Grimes is. And so I think that's why he's going to go there and try and find Rick. He could stop off in Alexandria or wherever and just kind of say like, you know, whatever, and maybe ask some questions on what's going on. But I do think that Morgan is most likely going to be in The Ones Who Live season 2 because, again, Gimple talked about like laying breadcrumbs and all that kind of stuff. And so at this point, I feel like that's exactly what is happening here because it is AMC, because it's not like Disney and all of that. You know, you can't really have the promise of like, oh, we're going to do all of this stuff in terms of shows and movies and there's going to be like all these phases. I think he's doing the best he can in this situation, and he's just laying down the groundwork here, sort of building up stuff here and there, doing all these crossovers, this and that, and it's just hoping to eventually have all this stuff come together, right? And so at this point, yeah, I feel like that seems to be where we're going. We're going to be getting most likely a season 2 here, and Morgan could be a part of it. It looks like, you know, there is more of a crossover event, I guess, planned or not planned, but there's a dream that he has. And we knew that before. He talked about that before, but him bringing it up again in the same panel where he's talking about The Ones Who Live, you know, getting more than one season, or like he says anything is possible regarding that question. Like, I just feel like it makes sense, right? And so right now, I think they're going to focus on these 6 episodes. But after this, obviously, I do think a season 2 is going to happen. And so when is that going to happen? I mean, that could really be like, it could come out next year. It could come out in 2026. Like, it really depends. Like, they might want to have it out late 2025, right? Late 2026 or early 2027. I have no idea when they want to start doing this. I feel like they're not going to wait too long, though. I don't see the show coming out like every year, but I feel like they're not going to wait crazy long, where like the next season comes out in 3 years from now. In 2 years from now, I think that makes a lot of sense, right? Like, you can do Daryl Dixon this fall, I guess like kind of summer, fall, and then early next year around this time, Dead City season 2, and then I guess in the later half do Daryl Dixon season 3, and then in 2026 maybe Dead City season 3, and then later on in 2026 maybe we get The Ones Who Live season 2 kind of thing. And again, there could be more spin-offs, and there's probably going to be other things in terms of the story, like more crossovers. We're going to see Dwight show up, Morgan show up, and all this kind of stuff. Like, I think everything that we were expecting from the Walking Dead just universe in general is most likely going to be happening here. Like, it seems like it's not going to be the way that we're thinking. There's probably going to be some changes along the way. Like, obviously, we thought we were getting Rick movies, and then it turned into a whole TV show kind of thing. I think that it's overall going in a direction that I think is going to be very, very exciting for a lot of fans. And yeah, I think the next, I don't know, however many years is going to be very, very exciting for Walking Dead fans. So anyways, I'm going to leave it here. Definitely post all your thoughts down below. Hope you guys all enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.